Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a Fantasy Golf Metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich, and we're talking the Wyndham Championship this week with a nice PGA Championship recap. If you haven't checked out fantasygolfmetrics.com, make sure you do that right after you're done listening to this podcast. All of the fantasy golf tools you need, betting, articles, insight, subscriber chat, basically everything you need. $5 weekly, $15 monthly. Got a nice price for annual membership too, so definitely check that out. We still got some golf left, people. We got a long playoff here to go, and then we got the fall series coming up. So daily fantasy golf never really ends. That's what I love about it. But let's talk about PGA Championship recap first. Then joining me as always, Fantasy Golf Metric co-founder Stephen Richter at FG Metrics on Twitter. Steve, I missed the first part of Sunday because I was driving home with my kids, but how pumped were you when Tiger was making the charge?
It was really exciting. I mean, you haven't felt like that in a while. I mean, he's been playing well all year. I mean, obviously he's earned his way, into the WGC. He's been playing well. It's been exciting to watch. But yesterday was definitely the first time. I mean, you could hear it. You heard the roars. I mean, if you just listen to some of the sound bites on some of the approach shots that he was just dialed in. It was sounds that you didn't hear before, and I think I listened to Justin Thomas afterwards. Was doing an interview with Amanda Balionis, and she was like, you could tell which roar was a Tiger roar, and this was the first time that I think I had heard things that they had talked about. Because again, you always hear a lot of these guys have never played with Tiger at that level, and I'm not saying it affected anyone, but they definitely were like, wow, this is what it was.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just different when half the golf course is centered around one guy, right? So no, it was crazy. I mean, I drove home, I checked the leaderboard, and I turn it on. I just like see Tiger like firing darts at flags and stuff like that, and one back, and man, yeah, it was a really cool back nine, obviously. So, I mean, in a way, I mean, even though Tiger actually led the Open after nine, like with 9 to go, I just felt like this was actually more exciting. I don't know why. I just feel like maybe he was playing better here, and I mean, outside of Koepka, he probably wins the tournament. So
I mean,
I don't know.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, he was playing better. I mean, it was a little more of a war of attrition overseas, and then it got to him too. Yeah. But here, I mean, listen, everyone has a couple holes, a couple issues here and there. You could say would have changed it, but you look at some of the things that he did leave out there. I mean, you can't take anything away from Koepka. Obviously, it was brilliant out there. But, you look at the par 5 17th the last 2 days. He's got a 12-footer for eagle he pars. He puts it in the water on Sunday. A couple lip outs here and there. The Bridgestone ball doesn't fall in. The Nike ball does. The Bridgestone ball doesn't. I mean, little things like that you see. The lip out on 14 looked good. It just seemed like this one really felt like it could have been his, even though he had the lead with 6 or 7 to go at the British. This felt like the real deal.
It felt like to me, like I said, it felt like he was clearly the best player in the field outside of Koepka. Like there was, like at the Open, it really could have gone either way. And you're right, it was a complete war of attrition, and Molinari outlasted everyone. And it's not like you felt like Tiger blew it or like was like the deserved champion, because it could have gone to like 5 people. But this one, it felt like it easily could have gone his way. He would have definitely earned it if he had taken down Koepka. But he didn't. And I mean, hats off obviously to Brooks Koepka, who just. And I was thinking about this earlier today, but we've seen some players go through runs, and I know Koepka right now he's in the midst of it. Obviously, 3 majors and like the last 7 majors. It's a pretty insane run. But at the same time, you have to think, like, Jordan Spieth went on a run like this. Jason Day went on a little run. I know he only got 1 major, but he had a bunch of, like, the players, too. We saw Martin Keimer win. It's interesting when players who aren't necessarily at the top of the spotlight can go on runs like this, because I feel like they don't have to deal with as much. And Koepka seems like he's the perfect player to this, because he takes these slights and he turns them into ammunition. And the fact he's not Dustin Johnson, doesn't have, everyone in his face all the time. I feel like it's just a perfect scenario for a guy like Koepka, who's so good at motivating himself and so talented, that we got this perfect storm of 3 majors in like a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he does, and it's just, I feel like he's as likely to sustain what he's doing as any of the guys. I mean, we always talk about the fluctuations between putting and ball striking, and he's all ball striking. I mean, we added him to the bets last week because we saw what was trending with the tee to green. He was number one in tee to green with the negative strokes gained and finished top five, finished fifth at Bridgestone, and I mean, he was trending in the secret stat. I mean, that's obviously a big popping thing for him. I mean, listen, we've had him on the betting card for each of the major wins that he's been in because it's just, every time we come up to one of these weeks, we talk about how ball striking does matter. I mean, listen, the good putters, the guys that get up and down when they're in trouble, like that does matter, but you're going to be in it if you're going to consistently strike it better than everyone else. And there's no doubt that he strikes it consistently better than everyone else.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I've kind of been the opposite. And I think it's more just with me, it's his career trajectory. Most players you see, they win like 3 or 4 times, then they get the major. With Koepka, it's like, okay, I won once, now I'm going to win 3 majors. And it's almost like my mind can't handle it. I know he's an elite ball striker. And even looking at the stats last week, I was like, wow, Koepka, that's dangerous. That's scary. And yet I still just could not pull the trigger. It made a ton of sense. I mean, you're still getting 20 to 1. He's a better price than like Ricky, or he's the same price. It made a ton of sense. But it's just a really interesting player. Like I said, kind of the perfect storm the last year and a half for him, I feel like. It's going to be interesting to see because he can't really go under the radar anymore. He's going to be, soon enough, he'll be just as recognized as Dustin Johnson, if not already. So interesting to see how he performs next year. Wouldn't shock me in the least. I agree with you. Of all the players I mentioned, physically, mentally, he might be the guy who can sustain it and put together another couple in the next couple of years. So we'll see. Great event either way. The course was kind of meh, but whatever.
I mean, and you bring up the whole like kind of under the radar thing, and on my drive home, I'm always listening to the Michael Kay show on ESPN, and they're doing like a little Tiger segment that they do sometimes, and they're talking about it the whole time, and they're talking about Koepka, and they're talking about how great he is. But they're calling him Kopka, and I'm like, this guy has won 3 majors in the last 7 years, 7 majors. You're ESPN, like I just no one knows who he is still. It's like they can't get it right. I don't understand, but it's really weird. I mean, listen, Bobby's favorite player is Koepka. I've loved Koepka. It's you really got to be into golf to really appreciate it. I don't know why he doesn't kind of break through in the media or in the marketing way the same way that everyone else has. I mean, it's probably the best for him, but it's really, really weird. Of all the things, it's kind of the weirdest phenomenon to me.
Yeah, it just feels like the way he came up was a little bit different, playing in Europe first, and he's not like this. He wasn't this touted 22-year-old prodigy. I mean, people knew he was talented, and I mean, I think the other thing is he breaks the mold a little bit. I mean, he looks more like he should be playing football or something. So I don't know. I don't really know exactly if it's one thing or if it's just everything. But he's definitely been overlooked.
I was watching footage on Twitter earlier, like they had one of those like player spotlights from when he was on the Challenge Tour. He's riding these little buggies in India. Yeah. It's crazy, like the route he took to get where he is.
Yeah, no, I mean, he legit was like a full-time European Tour player for, I think, 2 years. And then, just came over, had like a top 5 at the U.S. Open. I think it was at Pinehurst, and he just kind of went from there. And then it's a different career path. I mean, and I think that's mainly why you haven't heard as much of him. I mean, a guy like Jordan Spieth is just on the radar constantly from college up until he hits pro, and he hit pro like off and running, and same with Justin Thomas. So those guys were always in the spotlight. Brooks was out of the spotlight for a bit, and it's just taken a while. But you can't keep ignoring him at this point. I mean, it's just stupidity on the part of the media if they do, because quite frankly, he's the best player in the world. So what else can you say really at this point?
That's it. I mean, not much else to really recap from there. Had a couple of bets hit. Obviously, you had Gary Woodland deep in it, and then he burned you a little at the end. You got paid off it anyway, but you got cut out by Rahm, of course, of all friggin' people.
I had half my action on Woodland. I had Woodland top 20, so that was nice. But then I had my each way. I had half of it on a top 5, and then I had half of it on a top 8. And I needed Woodland, I needed Rahm and Sink to par the 18th, and they both birdied it from like 20 plus feet. So that was awesome. Good way to end the week. But Gary gave me a good sweat. I can't get mad at Gary. The guy I'm most mad about, and most shocked about this week is Dustin Johnson. after Friday, I was so sure Dustin was going to win this tournament. I was like, I was like, okay, minimum he's going to like finish second or something. And to see him like blow up on Saturday was just on a soft golf course. I don't know, man. Like I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, he's clearly still a great player, but it was weird. I mean, he was right there. He was right one shot behind Brooks halfway, and to go dead backwards. I don't know. It's something about his preparation, I guess, or something. But I wouldn't write him off. I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to win a major or something, but it was disappointing because I felt like he was ready to win. So
it was weird. I thought we were gonna had a chance to see like a Koepka DJ kind of showdown because he started playing well. I don't know. I have to go look at the stats next time he's up. I don't know if it was an off the tee thing. Maybe the driver wasn't there like it was for Koepka. I don't know necessarily what it was, but it was. I was surprised.
I don't think he liked the greens much. I think the slow greens might have hurt him a bit. He's not the best field putter, so that could have definitely had something to do with it. I think he was a little bit wild off the tee at times, so maybe the course didn't fit his eye. I mean, there's always this little things, but at the same time, good players usually overcome those things. So, like I said, I really expected Dustin to, at the very least, like be right in it at late Sunday. So that was probably the biggest surprise for me. I was definitely happy to see Gary perform because we talked about him a lot last week. He's really trending well. It's not shocking to me he didn't win. It would have been a really cool story, but didn't get there. Anyone else surprise you? I mean, Adam Scott was kind of the talk of Twitter, I guess. I don't even understand this controversy. Do you? I mean,
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all.
It's like, I mean, okay, he used to use an anchor putter. You're not a purist. You don't like the anchor putter. It still wasn't against the rules. Okay, like I get you have a little bit of problem with it. Now, anchor putters have been banned. He's clearly not anchoring. Like, I'm sorry, he's clearly not, because the PGA would have stepped in by now and done something. And you can look at every video. Nothing is going to show you clearly, obviously, because it's still close to his body. And I don't understand. Like, I understand why they took away anchoring. I do get it. But why it would bother someone who's, like, playing within the rules at this point? Who cares, like, how he's doing it? He's within the rules. I don't understand it. I don't understand why people would be pissed off about it.
You know what surprised me the most about it? The two putters.
Yeah,
that was really interesting to me to have. I mean, when's the last time someone came out with two putters in the bag?
Yeah, no, like never. I mean, what was the reasoning behind that? Was it just like he might switch if it wasn't going well?
He was using one for the long putts. For the long putts, he was using the short putter, but he ended up not really using it because he was hitting it so close.
Right. Because he was. I mean, we talked about this before, but I mean, he was just throwing darts, especially on the back nine. So, because I didn't actually, because like I said, I didn't watch all Sunday, so I didn't get the explanation behind it. But that kind of makes sense. It definitely strange choice.
Couple of the guys. I mean, listen, Zach Johnson continuing a strong year, another top 20 for him. Webb Simpson, the only guy. The super poor man's Ricky Fowler, top 20 in all four, and the players.
Yeah, good season for Webb for sure.
Yeah, the Finau scenario with him going, birdies 18 on Thursday to get the 4 over, and I'm thrilled because we kind of faded him. I mean, you and I talked about this. Yeah. I thought Finau this week, despite whether you thought he was good as a player, I thought it was the sucker play because at 8,100, I mean, he's 900 more than he was last major.
And he's more owned. He was more expensive and more owned.
Exactly. So he goes out, he blows up. I have like one, in all of our entries we have like a couple of them just to like throw them in. But I'm thrilled. I'm like, listen, I don't want to root against Finau, but like this is a great scenario for us. And he comes back and he has that ridiculous front nine. He birdies the first 5 in a row or 6 in a row, and then makes that triple. It was I never seen anything like it. And then of course the winner of the Millie has Finau on his lineup.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy. I mean, that's how good you have to run in these things. First of all, to get Finau back and then to have him, get you that many points. It was a crazy swing. The second round really killed me because I had Ricky first round leader. Obviously Woodland got him, but I got some top 5 money. I got some other guys in the top 10. So Thursday was a great day. Then Friday, or it was technically Saturday. Mm-hmm. I had a parlay, make the cut parlay with Bryson as the last man. Missed a 4-footer. to miss the cut. And then because I also had Bryson and no Finau, the swing of Finau making it and Bryson not making it was just devastating. So yeah, that was, again, these are the breaks every week with DFS. I mean, it's just, you need everything like that, little things to break your way, and definitely didn't break my way then. But yeah, it was a fun event either way. I don't know. I'm more excited. I'm more excited now the PGA is going to be in May. Yeah. I love the schedule next year. March players, and then into Masters, and right into the PGA. Yeah, that's going to be a good schedule.
I'm really pumped for it the way they moved it around. So.
And it's at Bethpage Black, so I assume you'll be there.
Yeah, I'd say most likely I'll go out there for a day. It's pretty simple for me. So.
Yeah. Great venue either way. So.
I guess let's jump into the Wyndham.
Yeah, the Wyndham. I mean, last regular season event. I mean, this has been I won't lie, this has been a good event for me over the years, especially last year. I had like Ollie top 5. I had Rory Sabatini like top 5, top 10, top 20. He finished like T4 last year, so that was great. Huge number. But I like this event. I mean, it's a scoreable course. It's kind of an easier par 70. It favors some of these accurate ball strikers who can go low and get a little bit of putting done. And it's always exciting because you got guys on the verge or on the edge of the top 125 and stuff like that for the FedEx Cup, always making moves. So I remember last year Martin Flores made like a hole-in-one basically to make the top 125. So it's kind of exciting events, really. I know it's like a lesser event, but it's still kind of good. And it got a decent field. I mean, Simpson, 11-6, which is just nuts. Matsuyama, Stenson, Snedeker, 10-4, which is actually crazier, probably. And then Rafa and Shane Lowry at 10K.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a decent field, but I think I get where you're going.
Yeah.
I mean, you got only 9 guys in the top 50, no one in the top 15. Matsuyama at 16 is the highest, but it is very interesting. There's a handful of guys, and a handful of guys that we have high ranked that are on the cusp of whether they're going to, make it in or not. And, a handful of guys that played well here last year are showing up for us this year. I don't know if that's like a timing thing or if it's if it's a course history thing. So definitely going to be interesting, to see who's grinding it out and who's kind of just like, prepping for the playoffs. What do you think? Let's go jump right into the top tier. I mean, you know what? We probably didn't talk. We should talk about the course a little bit. Sedgefield, a tighter course, a driving accuracy course. Usually, you have to be accurate off the tee here to make it happen. You have to be a hot putter.
The scoring's definitely gone up. And up, I mean, gotten better. Like Siwoo Kim, 21 under 2 years ago. Stenson, 22 under. Ollie got to 21 under last year too. Those guys were just duking it out late. But they had newer Bermuda greens put in I think 2013, and they've softened a little bit. I think they've gotten a little bit easier. So I think that's part of the reason. There's a little bit of thunderstorms in the forecast, so you could see a soft course. I think it'll probably be a birdie fest again. The course plays pretty easy. 2 really simple par 5s. I think there's 8 par 4s under between 400 and 450 yards. So again, wedge play, get it in the fairway off the tee, and then just make your putts.
Yeah, we got 150 to 175 is one of the key ranges. I mean, on average is 11.2 attempts from that range compared to an average of 6 or so on tour normally. So that's a range to kind of look at. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna need to make a bunch of putts, like you said. I mean, the scoring has gotten better since the greens have changed, and it's just you're gonna have to make a lot of putts because you can't. Yeah. You're not gonna hole them out. I mean, to get to 20 under. I mean, the average, just to give you an idea, I'm looking at the course snapshot. The average winner here is 5.5 strokes gained putting compared to 3.5 on tour. So that's a huge, huge gap there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's an exciting course. I mean, it's not a hard course, but it's one of those things where it almost correlates with some of those other ones, Hilton Head, Colonial, some of them, but it maybe just plays even a little bit easier. So that's kind of what we're dealing with this week, anyways. Of the top players, I mean, I just feel like everyone over 11K, or maybe even everyone over 10K, is just so overpriced that I just don't want to play anyone. Is there anyone that you feel super confident? Because the other thing I'll say about this event no one's really coming in with like super like good form. Like there's players who are playing okay, like Lowry's playing okay, Cabrera Bale's playing okay, Webb, but no one's in like super like dominant form. So this is kind of a wide open event. Is there anyone above even 10K you feel really confident with?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, listen, I feel strongly. I probably feel strongest about Rafa just because, when you take the sample size over the 12 weeks and the 4 events that he's played in that time frame, yeah, sure, he missed the cut at the Open, but those 4 events on the PGA Tour, they're 3 majors and a WGC. So,
Right.
he finished 10th last week, 17th at the WGC after missing the cut. I mean, it's one of those things every week you hear me talk about, stepping up or stepping down in class. I mean, this is just not even close to the same field. I mean, could there be a letdown? Maybe, but of the guys, I mean, he's the guy up there I like the most. I mean, surprisingly enough, the guy we have ranked the lowest of them is Stenson, who won here last year. So
Yeah.
he'll probably be the one. I mean, to go out there and kind of burn me. I mean, Matsuyama obviously hitting it a bit better, like you expect from him. He's played well here before. I mean, Webb the chalk, but 11-6 you got to figure is gonna hold him off. I like playing in the Rafa kind of area, Rafa and Lowry. I feel like the low tens you can make a couple more lineups. It's really tough to go 11 or more with how kind of shallow the field is. I mean, like I said, you only got 9 guys in the top 50. So once you get into the 7 range, you're already talking about guys in the 150, 200 plus in the world. I mean, you got guys, Steve Stricker, obviously 8,300, 150th in the world, so it doesn't really count. Harold Varner the third, 8,900. I mean, these are not like, 8,900 for HV3. Like, listen, he's having a decent year, but that's just not a great number. I mean, you're going to be in the sevens and still looking at some players you never heard of before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it does thin out a bit. I mean, there's some decent players in good form, and I think there's definitely a few targets down here who I'll like quite a bit. But yeah, for me, I mean, it's kind of more of a week where I lean towards balanced. I mean, of the top players, I agree it's probably going to come down to like getting some Rafa or maybe some Shane Lowry. I feel like Rafa's probably going to be the chalky pick for most people because he's affordable. People kind of know him as a pretty good DFS player. He's pretty consistent, and he's got good results now under his belt. So, same time, Shane Lowry played well here last year. I can't remember exactly what his finish was, but it was pretty good. He might have even played here more than once. But
yeah, no, Lowry. Let's see, he went 7th last year and 42nd the year before.
Yeah, so he's played here twice. I know he's kind of in the mix last year. He's a player who struggles sometimes with his putter, and I think that's pretty much what's holding him back right now. But that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because the ball striking has definitely been there. It's been there for his last 3 events. Nothing worse than a T15. I wouldn't necessarily just say, it's an easy choice. So, Rafa over Shane Lowry. I feel like if Lowry's like half his ownership, I could definitely get behind that. So maybe even play them both. But that's kind of where I'll be starting. I just can't get myself to roster Snedeker at that price, even if he's like 2% owned. I just don't think I can go there. Matsuyama was like all putting last week. Maybe that turns. Maybe the ball striking comes back in a weaker field. I don't know. Have to look a little bit more into it. I know he had one really bad round, and I think that hurt him. But I don't know. 11-3. He's just not in Hideki form. So. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm really leaning towards this 9K range. I like a few players here.
Yeah, speaking of Hideki, because I mentioned like he's hitting it better. I mean, he's hitting it better relative to where he's been the last like month or two, but still, it's not Hideki like. And the fact that he even competed last week was all putting, and that's just not how it works for him. So I'd be on alert. I mean, listen. If the putter stays hot and he gets back to him, he could lap the field. But more than likely, the putter is going to fall back to normal. And if that's the case, like he could be on cut miss alert.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm not going to pay up that price for him. I guess as a GPP play, you could go there, but I figure if you're going to go that high, probably just go with Webb, who like loves this event. Named his daughter after this event and is still playing well. Like he's not like falling out of form. He's a little bit more wild off the tee, but that's kind of always the way he is. The rest of his game is pretty solid. So, like I said though, I mean I like the 7K range or sorry 9K range. I mean, for me, one of the most, I just can't find anything wrong with Billy Horschel this week, to be honest. Seventh in approaches last week. I kind of sent out a tweet about most of my thoughts about it. I maybe I should just read that. But seventh in approach last week. But I mean, his off the tee game is fantastic right now. And that's one thing I'll say about this course. I think it's the last 7 winners, or like 6 of the last 7 winners, have been top 15 in driving accuracy, and that's not just being accurate off the tee; it's being long and accurate too. And that's pretty much what Billy Horschel is. I mean, he's like, I think he's 19th in strokes gained off the tee for the season, like 7th over the last 12 weeks. Par 4 scoring, is there. He's a better Bermuda putter than a bent grass. He really didn't putt well last week at the PGA. Could easily flip this week. So 9,600. He's my pick right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that we do have up there in the first class. I mean, we have him ranked 4th overall, 16th in form, 18th in history, 7th in secret stat. Definitely a good spot for him. And I think, listen, I think the price 9,600, if you told me that's what it was, feels high for him. But given the way it's situated and the way the guys are just above him, you got to figure most of the population is going to take one of these guys at 10 up, like 10 and above.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's really, really hard to take Horschel, Henley, Neiman. Well, Henley maybe not as much, but Horschel and Neiman right below that 10K range. I think the ownership is going to get, kind of suppressed with that, because you're going to have guys take, one guy in the 10 and above, and then probably low 9s, upper 8s is where they'll go next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Horschel could definitely get some love, because I mean he's in good form, but he's not going to get so much love that you're going to have to worry about it. I mean, people will play Neiman just out of sheer, because of he's the hot cool thing, and Lowry and Rafa are the sexy Euro guys, whatever, who are coming in good form. So Henley and Horschel might get a little bit overlooked. I mean, we still have Henley ranked high. I think this is a fantastic course for Russell Henley. He can definitely get hot on like a softer Bermuda course. We've seen him win at the Sony, at the Shell, very similar circumstances. So don't count him out just because he finished T60 last week. I admittedly haven't looked into his ball striking from last week, but I mean, just the fact we still have him ranked up pretty high kind of tells you that you probably shouldn't dismiss him. I'd like Horschel a little bit more, but I might like Henley just as much, by the end of the night. So, but below him, Daniel Berger played really well last week. Everyone's kind of been talking about, I think it was first in strokes gained approach for the week or something like that. So interesting play. I can kind of get behind it. I'm not sure exactly where he falls for you, but
we have him ranked a bit lower than I think I would have expected. But yeah, I mean, coming off the way he played last week, it might be one of those things where just the model, the data is not really catching up to him as quickly as it needs to be. I mean, you look at the odds on him; he's 33-1, one of the lower odds in the field. The history here, it's not really, it's in the ranks, it's bad. But he's only played here once. He had a really bad start here in 2015, so that could be skewing why I don't have him ranked a little bit higher. But yeah, I mean, the approach game was better last week. As a whole, it hasn't been that good. So listen, if it's something where he just kind of popped up last week for a good week and he's going to stay where he's been, then, maybe he's not worth it. But if this is the beginning of an upward trend, I think, you maybe want to get ahead of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I don't mind the price. Comparable to guys above him, right? Like even like Henley and Horschel. I mean, I'd probably, if Berger's in form, probably a little bit better player. So Snedeker too. So I can get behind him from that perspective. I think he might be a better bet, to be honest, because he also had that wrist issue, and if he WDs or something, or he falls out of form, then you just lose the bet. You don't it doesn't blow up your lineup. So more of a GPP play, but I wanted to bring him up. Below him, I mean, I don't even know what to say about Sergio Garcia right now. He's won at this event before. I'm just gonna pass. I mean,
I got to tell you, we have him a little higher just because we have him technically ranked first in course history because he has the really, but it's been a couple of years back. You got to figure, he hasn't played here in a long time. He's only playing here because he's just outside the 125. So there is some motivation. I don't know if that matters for him. I think a lot of the time people have talked about Sergio not playing well because he has other things on his mind. But clearly he's playing this week because he has a goal in mind. So although the form isn't there, he's had some success on this course. He needs to make a move. I can get behind the narrative. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like he's a great player. I mean, listen, he's basically missed one of his last 5 cuts. But again, they're all in premier events. They're the U.S. Open, they're the WGC, they're the PGA, they're the British, and then there's the one other event, which I think that's the only one he made, which was the RBC Canadian. So you take that into consideration. He's back into a weak field now. It's a course that he's played really well at, and he has something to do. I think this could be a really good price for a Sergio that no one likes right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely no one likes him, especially me. But I definitely hear what you're saying. This traditionally would be like a perfect course for Sergio, and I'm not shocked he's won here because it just comes down to it. You just have to get off the tee, and then it's just like pure iron play. And Sergio is so precise with his irons when he's on. So, would you play him over Ryan Moore then? I guess.
Well, I mean, we have Moore ranked above for obvious reasons. I mean, again, I can't debate. I mean, we don't have Sergio in the first class or anything. We do have him in the second class, which is the highest that we've had him in like 4 weeks. I mean, we've had him as low as like bottom of the third class, upper fourth class based on the way he's playing. So it's just a straight narrative, kind of all things converging to maybe just work out for him to be a great play when it doesn't make sense. So
I mean, he's got to make a cut at some time, like for real. I mean,
well, that's the thing. I mean, listen, you look at Moore, 10th in form, 12th in history. 4 of his last 5 cuts made. I mean, even the betting number is better for Ryan Moore than it is for Sergio Garcia, which is kind of funny. I just think that from a GPP play, like this is a good time for Sergio, but I'm not going to argue. I'm definitely not going to say cash play.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's more of like a talent play. I mean, and I understand it. I kind of advocated for it. I can't even remember what event it was. I think it was at the Canadian Open where he actually started really well and then he shot 74. So that's the thing. I mean, that's what's so tantalizing about Sergio. Even though he's not playing well, he's still throwing up the odd good round and stuff like that.
Well, same thing happened this past week. Didn't he have a good first round and then he bombed the second round?
Yeah, I think so. He didn't even bomb out. He went 70-71. So I think he had a good front nine or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's a strange situation. He's gone through slumps before though, so I don't know. At the same time, I might just not even go there. So we'll see. Below him, I mean, you obviously, Harold Varner's ranked pretty high. It's a really prime Harold Varner, 89. Julian Surrey is another guy we have ranked really high. I think he was 7th in strokes gained tee to green last week. Playing well. I kind of forgot about Surrey. Just about won the French Open before the Open Championship. And he's put together a couple good results in majors. I mean, T28 at the Open too. I forgot he was T28 there, and then top 20 last week, T19. So
yeah, I mean, he's a guy. I mean, we had him in like the upper second class last week. I had a little bit of exposure. I wish I had more. But yeah, he's a guy. We have him ranked second in form overall. I mean, it's only based on 2 events, but again, it's that conversation that I keep having about class. I mean, it's a 19th and a 28th in 2 majors. Now we're talking about the Wyndham. This is a guy that is definitely a sexy play this week. I mean, he hasn't played here before, so you can't really say. But I especially think at 60-1, he's a really nice play. I mean, he won on the European Tour twice last year or last year.
I think he just won once, but yeah, I mean, he's won. I mean, he's a player you can kind of call him like mini Brooks Koepka. I mean, he's an American. He's playing over in Europe. He's a big hitter off the tee. Ball striking is his thing. Like I said, I mean, he basically should have won the French Open. He missed some putts down the stretch and he made a bad bogey or something. But very talented player. I've kind of been debating him today because it's his first time seeing the course. But you're right, 60-1. Like he should probably just be an auto bet, to be honest.
I think it's a better bet than GPP. I mean, I feel like you're paying fair value or like what you should be paying because of what he's done the last 2 times out in the majors, but it doesn't match up. I mean, he's 60-1. I mean, no one else in that range. I mean, it everyone else right around it. Siwoo Kim, Harold Varner, Moore, Garcia, they're all like 40, 33, 45. I mean, he's at 60. I feel like that price is I'd rather pay 60 for Surrey than 66 for Graham McDowell.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the one thing about Surrey is we'll see how popular he's going to be. If he gets to be like 15% or something, yeah, I agree. He'd be a better bet. But if he stays, if people just don't get on him, I mean, he might be okay for both. So Interesting play, anyways. It's something I got to think a bit more about. He's definitely ranked high for us, so yeah, someone to consider. Another player who's Matthew Fitzpatrick is in this field too.
Yep. He's he's a guy kind of disappointed us a little bit last week. I mean, he was up there. He's kind of dropped back for us right now. I thought you were going to jump to your boy Ollie next because he's right around that price.
I just can't pay this much for Ollie. I mean, I know what he did here last year and stuff like that, and I know he did have the Barracuda, and he started out nice, the PGA, but he needs to be $1,000 cheaper, and the course history thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I want to root for him here, and I know he's got the talent to light it up, especially soft course like this. I don't know, and I can't bet him at 40-1. So I wish he had just sat this event out, like I think he was planning on. He's a late entry, so. I don't know. Maybe he's like the perfect GPP play because he'll probably be like 4% owned.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen. I've seen a little bit of chatter about him, but I think people jumped on him last week, and then when they saw he was in the field this week, they're thinking playing him the same. But yeah, I mean, we have him down in the third class, so can't really say much there. Surprisingly enough, we do have Graham McDowell a little higher than I thought. I was just saying that because I look at the price, I look at the name, and I just wasn't as excited about it. But we do have him up there too. Other guys in this range. I mean, we don't really have much love in the low eights. All those guys are in the third class. You look at Danny Lee, Kevin Tway, Stricker, Duffner, those guys. But when you crack that number to get to 79, the only guy at 79 is Jason Kokrak. We have him in the first class, third in secret stat, 30th in form. He's only made three of six cuts, but they're two of the last three events, the PGA and the RBC. He's gotten top 20 in both. So, I mean, listen, he's a ball striker. I mean, obviously at the RBC, he was putting well. That's how he got to a 12th place finish. But I think this is a spot. I mean, also coming off a third at the Greenbrier. So the only time he kind of didn't play well was at the Open. And listen, the Open and the U.S. Open are two times where you can kind of throw out a score, generally, if it's not as good as the results around him. And outside of that major, he hasn't finished outside of the top 20 since the Quicken Loans. So at 7,900, I mean, listen, he's usually a guy that's usually probably 68 to 7,400 this week in a weaker field. He's someone that's just kind of interesting to me at 79.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Kokrak can go out there and make a ton of birdies. He's going to be able to kill those 2 par 5s. So I'd play him over, Kevin Tway, probably. I'll give you that for sure. I mean, Fitzpatrick, it's kind of a form versus class thing. I mean, Fitzpatrick the better player, but I agree. I mean, Kokrak probably playing better right now. So I could definitely get behind that because I don't really love anyone right below him either.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Uline could be a bit of a class play, but I mean, he's been really out of form, so I don't really want to go there. My next play would be all the way down to like 7,500 where I start taking a look at Chris Kirk again. Although after he burned us so bad at the Canadian Open, what is us with backing players who just implode on the weekends now? Oh my God.
It's incredible. I mean, it's like, hey, we're in good shape. We got to go. Yeah. Nope. And then last week he disappointed me because he played well. I mean, he kind of fizzled towards the end, but like where was that? I mean, I look at a lot of these guys in this range. We don't have much. I mean, Sabatini kind of, obviously still playing well, for him, but a lot of these guys in the mid sevens, we don't have anyone up there. The only guy when you jump down, we got Richie Wierenski, finished 10th here last year. Been playing well. He missed the cut at the Barracuda. But other than that, he's been playing pretty well. We have him in the first class, 4th in secret stat. Guy that's been playing well. Same if you drop down to Tyler Duncan, Sam Ryder. And then, I don't know if there's anyone else in that range we can jump back to, but just because it came up in front of me. I don't know much about him, and it's just kind of weird to me when a guy shows up in the first class and I don't really recognize him, but I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Do you know who's John Oda or John Oda?
Yeah.
I mean, last 2 starts, obviously really strong finishes. In the first class for us at 7,200. Do you know much about him?
I know a little bit about him because I was watching the Barracuda. I believe he plays at UNLV, or he was like a college player just coming out. And I mean, I think he might have been like first stroke CMT to green at the Barracuda. Like he was absolutely phenomenal ball striking. So right in it there. I mean, obviously he played the Barbacell too, made the cut there, like T34. I don't know. I mean, look, it's one of these situations where you just have a young player, college player. I don't know the specifics of his game really. I just know he's been ball striking like a maniac last couple events. And it's one of those situations where maybe you just keep riding him. Because if he keeps making cuts, he's going to keep doing good things. So yeah, I that's about all the information I can give. I will say this. I mean, in this range, other than Werenski, maybe Tyler Duncan, who I want to say cooled off a bit. Actually, he did cool off a bit. Never mind. I still like Tyler Duncan, but yeah, I mean, John Oda is an interesting play. I mean, definitely,
and that's
again. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can tell. You can tell from I like doing this on Mondays because when we put out the guide, it's not like we use a model and it goes out there. So when it comes to Monday night, I'm just finishing turning over the site. I don't get to like review it too much. So when I'm coming on the air with this, I'm like, who's John Oda? How did he make it into the first class? Like, I don't know anything about him, but if it says he's in there, I got to look into him.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, anyways, that's pretty much who you're dealing with. I mean, a really young player is pretty raw, but he's just ball striking really well. He's probably hitting it better than 90% of players in this field. So something to think about. Anyways, haven't really made a decision if I'll use them or anything like that. But I mean, there's definitely a few other players down here like I'm interested in. I mean, Blaine Barber's a player ranked pretty high. I think just top of the second class for us, and missed his cut last.
Barber's a Jeff guy. I feel like you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's on team. But I mean, he's someone I've been tracking for last 3 or 4 years. He's had some high finishes, but he's trending in the right direction in like pretty much every facet of his game. So he's finished in the top 20 here before. Better Bermuda putter than other surfaces, so I don't mind that play at all. Hudson Swafford's starting to get his game. I guess Swafford was a little bit injured most of the year. I guess it's come out, and he's definitely feeling better now. But 11th at Barracuda, 12th at RBC Canadian Open. I don't know how great a setup this is, but again, I mean, you're getting a pretty good player who's kind of still at 7,100. Normally if Swafford was playing well, he'd probably be in the 8K range for this field. So another player to think about.
He's ranked number 1 in trend for us, which is not a perfect stat by any means, but it has been indicative. I mean, it takes into account all the stats plus the form, not just, how it's trended. But if you just look at the finishes, 128th, 50th, 12th, 11th. I mean, it's a perfect upwards trajectory. At 7,100, if you feel comfortable about him going out there and doing the same thing and finishing top 20, a great return there. It's too bad some of the guys at the top aren't as exciting because, you talk about the 4 guys that we just talked about. I mean, you look at like Swafford, Werenski, Oda, and like a Barber or something like that. And it's 4 guys in the low 7s. And all of a sudden you can take whoever you want in the top 2. And normally, if the top 2 were like DJ and someone else, I'd feel, all right, I'm going to do that. But now it's like, well, do I need to do this? But again, I think this is one of those types of events where, you always hear about people leaving money on the table when it comes to GPPs. This is a spot where you could probably leave 1,500, 2,000 on the table and have a lineup that's you can be as confident as if you went to 50,000.
It seems like it always happens at this event too. Yeah. And I think it's because most of the top players who are in really good form skip it, but it just feels like you could roster a winning lineup with like not going outside of the 7s. Exactly. So, and it does feel like that happens every year. I mean, I know Stenson won last year, but you go back before, it was Si Woo, who definitely wasn't, priced high that week. I think he might've been in the 6K range that week, to be honest. Then it was Davis Love. Then it was Camilo. I mean, these guys are lower ranked players, or they were at the time anyways, right?
In 2015, the perfect lineup, and I know it's the perfect lineup because it was under 50,000, was just the top. It was Davis Love, Scott Brown, Bill Haas, Webb Simpson, Carl Pedersen, and Jonas Blix. Like, you could have just rostered all of them. I mean, I'm sure no one did, but, I mean, if you go back, I mean, there's a handful of guys that always finish really high here. I mean, William McGirt had a high finish in the last, 2 of the last, I just don't know, I was looking at Snedeker there. 2 of the last 4 years, Snedeker's, McGirt's been up there. But like a couple guys like that end up in the 7s, they flash here. And, you generally need one of those guys. I mean, we've seen Simpson, you saw Stenson, usually one of the guys, but it's not like you see all of the guys at the top making it here. So you kind of have to either avoid all of them and get the good guys just below them, or be right if you choose the one.
Yeah, exactly. So, Anyways, that's kind of why I like this event, because you usually see some of these guys in the bubble, the FedEx Cup. Flash, I know last year, Sabatini, Martin Flores, Cameron Smith had a big event here too. But yeah, it usually ends up being an exciting event, which is good for DFS. Going down lower, there's a couple other players still. I mean, there's a couple of the players like even under 7K. I feel like Hunter Mayhem.
And he needs it. We have him in the second class.
He definitely needs it.
He's what's he, like 130 or so in the
35th or 37th?
Yeah, so he probably needs a top 10, top 15 to get in most likely.
Yeah, no, I mean he's been playing well. I mean he's obviously ranked pretty highly in the guide, just outside the first class. But I mean, I was in contention at the Barbasol, had a bad Canadian Open, but then bounced back at the Barracuda with a decent week. He's been making some cuts. He's been flashing a little bit. He's T16 here. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but he's got one decent result here. So I don't know. I mean, that's the kind of player I will not be shocked if he's like, T2 or T3 or maybe even wins this week. So, something to keep an eye on. Matt Jones, I don't hate under that either. Although I'd probably take Mahan if it came down to it.
Mackenzie Hughes is a guy that we have at the top of the third class. Not saying I like him, but if we're just kind of riding that narrative, he's around 150 in FedEx points. He probably needs like a top 5 to get into the top 125. So,
and I can't even. Some of these guys really even just need to get into the 150. To be honest, like I can't even remember what the deal is. If they get conditional status and they get like into the web.com finals or something, I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, the getting even to the 150 is big for some of these guys. So.
And then if you drop down, I mean, I don't know if you have anyone else in this over sixes, but I mean, if you drop down all the way to 6,600, one of the things I like doing is I'll rank it by the FGM score on the main page, and then I'll rank it by the price, because then basically at every price it keeps it sorted by price, by score. You go down to 6,600, and Percy and Streb. I mean, listen, we have him ranked in the third class, top of the third class. I'm not thrilled about him. Streb has some good history here. Number 1 in secret stat, even though he's only made 3 of the last 8 cuts. But that's a guy at 6,600. I mean, again, these are just cut makers. You got to make the cut at 6,600, and that's all you're looking for.
Well, and I like Streb for GPPs because he does have the upside. Like he could finish top 10 or like T8 or T5 here, and I wouldn't be shocked because he's good enough to do it. He's extremely streaky with the putter, but he's got the firepower to do it, so to speak. So. I like that play a lot. He kind of jumped out to me there too. Definitely the most upside in my opinion from this range. Percy, I don't mind. Percy's been kind of under the radar, okay, at times, flashing in some of these weaker field events, which again you kind of like. The only other player I'd kind of throw out there is maybe Michael Thompson. Played really well tee to green at the Barracuda. Decent course history. I don't think he's done anything great, but again, shorter par 70. You don't have to be killer off the tee. That's kind of Michael Thompson's thing. His iron play was a lot better last time out. He can get really hot with the putter, so I like the upside there too.
I don't mind if you have to. I don't know why you would have to, but I would go as deep as 6,300 in J.J. Henry. Finished 17th last week. Last year. 15th in secret stat. I mean, listen, that's always the narrative. He's a secret stat guy, and the putter just needs to show up, but. I do believe Bermuda is the better the surface of choice for him. I mean, he's not a great putter one way or the other, but he's had a couple good finishes here. I mean, he's missed the cut a couple times as well. But if you have to go to 6,300 for some reason, I don't mind it. I mean, we have him towards the top of the third class there.
Yeah, no, I actually was on JJ a little bit at the Don Deere. Played okay. He might have been one of the best players in my lineups, which doesn't say much, but. Yeah, no, I definitely don't mind that at all. I mean, I wonder how many people played Norm Zhang now that he's missed like 5 cuts in a row. I guess people are done with him. I was never on that train, so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I mean, other than that, though, I mean, that's pretty much as deep as I would go, I think. I can't see anyone else there. No. Brendan DeJong? No, I don't think so.
I mean, this is back up a little bit, but I mean, 7,000. Andres Romero, he's 3 straight cuts. Again, I mean, not names you normally consider, but it's 7,000. Probably one of the better strings.
Look, he's this guy can pop at any time. I mean, I don't mind that for GPP play, quite frankly. He's a player who he won on the European Tour last year out of literally nowhere. He's almost won a major. Like, he's got some talent, and he's actually played okay of late. I mean, he's T7 at John Deere. I think he was in contention somewhere else too. So
yeah, the last 2 weeks before, he kind of just skidded through last week or his last event, which was Barracuda. But the 2 events before that, I think he finished in the teens and then 7th, like you said.
I'm not sure. Do you know what his course form is here?
Let's see. I had it right in front of me, and let me bring it back up. He
T14.
We have him 75th. He's only made the cut twice in 6 starts here. That would probably be the main knock on him. Why he's not maybe not even in the first class based on the form. I mean, he finished 14th in 2014. He's missed the cut every other year except 2010. So, but again, I think this is a conversation when you're talking about a guy like Andres Romero that you don't look at the course history as much, because who knows what Andres Romero's form was in those times. I mean, you actually can go back when we have the tool on our site. I don't have it in front of me right now, but the course history form leading in tool. I mean, listen, it could be that in 2014 and 2010, when he finished 14th and 28th, he had 3 straight cuts made like he does, right now. And the times around it, he was just playing at Andres Romero level, which is not that great on average. So something to consider there.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I mean, he's an interesting player, to be honest. Again, the type of player I wouldn't be shocked to see pop up here. I mean, I wouldn't go overboard, but, throw him in a GPP lineup definitely makes a little bit of sense. I think that's about it for me as far as talking about the field straight up. I mean, you got anyone else to throw out?
No, I mean, I have everyone in front of me. I think I kind of talked about any of the guys that I really want to make a claim for. I feel like there might have been 1 or 2 others, but now that I'm looking through it again, nothing too specific. So, I mean, we have all the high-end guys in the first class. A couple of guys that we mentioned also up there in in the 7 range. But like you said, that kind of like upper 8 range is not. It's funny. I mean, you said it without saying anything. We don't have anyone. We have one guy in the first class between from 86 to 9, and that's Varner. I mean, I guess McDowell's at 85, but after that, it's like no one in the 8s really showing up for us.
Yeah, so, and I mean, again, just so people know, we're talking about, the survival guide on fantasygolfmetrics.com. You can download it for subscribers. I mean, obviously, we do spit out a ranking of these players every week, and obviously, we give our own subjective biases, towards it too. But I mean, if we're just going straight by the data, that's just kind of how it broke down for the week. So definitely stronger, for some of these guys in the 9K range than some of them in the 8. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, I'm kind of partial to just the 9K range. I was kind of partial to it before I even saw the guide, but more to it now. And I would agree. I mean, I think some of those players just offer a little bit more value, a little bit more, good with the same amount of form. I don't know. I mean, you got any strong leads for a winner this week or anything like that? Or,
I mean, I got to be honest. I'm there with Rafa, which I know is he might be a bit chalky, but I'm looking at those high end guys. If I have to pick one of them, I'm looking at their the secret stat trend and kind of how they're performing a baseline, and all the guys above him in price. I mean, I'm looking at not above him in price, but like world rank or so. Sergio, Webb, Henrik, they're not hitting it as well as I'd like them to, and they've kind of been putting. Yeah. I mean, Stenson hasn't really done either, but. Rafa is on the way up when it comes to some of the metrics that I'm looking at. So, I mean, maybe he peaked last week when he had that strong Sunday, but I like the momentum coming into this week.
Yeah, I can't really say anything bad about it. And I definitely agree. I know I'm not huge on anyone over 10K, but I would probably lean Rafa too if I was really forced to choose someone. I just don't know if Lowry can pot well enough, quite frankly. And maybe he's kind of a little bit worn out after a couple weeks in a row. So I would agree. I mean, I think Rafa's a pretty good choice. I will say this. I mean, I like Horschel just as much. Everything looks good to me. I love the course history. I like the fact he's played well this time of year before. He went really low a couple years ago here, I should say. And again, the switch to Bermuda, it was just really the putter that was letting him down last week. So, yeah, I think Horschel, Rafa, those probably be my top two choices. I guess they are our top two choices.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, like, you can't argue against Simpson. You just have to argue against the price.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Webb's. It's not like Webb's playing poorly, but at the same time, I think you look at the ball strike. I feel like Horschel and Cabrera Bell have both been more consistent of late, and are probably more, maybe even more in Rafa's case, trending upwards, whereas Simpson is just kind of flatlining. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like to me, anyways. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was nice that Simpson went out and did what he did last week, but I thought it was maybe good time for him to kind of cool off, and he kind of closed pretty strong. Yeah. So I think that's it. I mean, I guess we'll go on record. I'm taking Rafa. You're taking Horschel.
Yeah, let's do it. Billy Ho, why not? I don't know if I've ever bet Billy Horschel before this week. We'll see. Probably have, and he just sucked. But.
Well, we hit him early in the year when he came up at like some top 10, top 5s. Never not
That's
outright.
True. That's true. Yeah, no, not outrights, but. Anyways, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, obviously, I'll have some more info up on the article tomorrow, so check that out. Top core plays. I'll go over a few bets that I made so far and stuff like that. So definitely check that out. FantasyGolfMetrics.com. A bunch of articles and subscriber chat on Wednesday. So yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Obviously, have a good Wyndham Championship. Got the playoffs coming up too, so don't forget about that. But for me, Jeff at the Fantasy Ground on Twitter, Steve at FG Metrics on Twitter. Have a great week.
Take it easy, guys.